Chapter 9, Lesson 2, Multiplying Polynomials. So we've learned how to add and subtract polynomials, which is just a lot of combining like terms, and now we're going to talk about how to multiply polynomials. And the example is right here as to how to do this. So if you have this problem here, 5x to the fourth times, and then in parentheses, 2x to the third minus 3x to the second plus x minus 6. What you're going to do is you're actually going to multiply the 5x to the fourth times each and every one of those terms. And the example they actually use the distributive property there to show that you're distributing that 5x to the fourth. And when you multiply that all out, 5x to the fourth times 2x to the third is going to be 10x to the seventh. 5x to the fourth times 3x to the second is going to be 15x to the second, but it's there's a subtraction sign there, so make sure to keep track of that. 5x to the fourth times x is going to be 5x to the third, and then 5x to the fourth times 6 is going to be 30x to the fourth, and again that's a subtraction sign. So let's look at this example here. And so this is 4x to the fifth times 3x to the third. That's going to end up being 12x to the eighth minus 4x to the fifth times 2x to the second. That's going to be 8x to the seventh. 4x to the fifth times 8x is going to be 32x to the sixth. And 4x to the fifth times 9 is going to be plus 36x to the fifth. So that's how you do these. When you multiply a monomial by a polynomial, there's pretty straightforward. It gets a little bit more complicated when you're multiplying binomials or polynomials by polynomials when one is not a monomial. So the example here is we're going to use what's called multiplying vertically. And here's the example here. What we're doing in this case here is we're taking that 7. We're multiplying 7 by 3 and we get 21. Then we multiply 7 times subtract negative 2x, so you're going to end up with negative 14x, and then 7 times 5x to the second, you're going to end up with 35x to the second. Now we're going to do the same thing but with 2x. And if you notice, it's shifted over so that when we multiply 2x times 3, we're going to end up with 6x. And so that's why it's under there, because we're eventually going to add those terms together. So that's why they're underneath there. So 2x times negative 2x is going to be minus 4x. And then 2x times 5x squared is going to be 10x cubed. And when you combine them all, you're going to end up with this. In this case here, 21 just goes down by itself. Negative 14x plus 6x is going to be subtract 8x. 35x squared minus 4x squared is going to be 31x squared, and then 10x cubed is just by itself the normal way. So let's look at this example here. I'm going to do this one here. So it's going to be x squared plus 6x plus 4 times 3x minus 1. So this is negative 1 times 4 is going to be negative 4. Negative 1 times 6x is going to be minus 6x. Negative 1 times x squared is going to be negative x squared. Now 3x times 4 is going to be 12x, so I'm going to put it under here. That's the reason why I put it there, because I don't have anything in this spot. So the reason why I put it underneath the x is because it matches up. 3x times 6x is going to be 18x squared. And then, oh, I forgot that this is a plus. And then 3x times x squared is going to be 3x cubed. So when we then add these together, we're going to end up with negative 4. And end up with 6x. That's the reason why it's important to line them up. Plus 17x squared. And then 3x cubed. So that's what the answer is eventually going to be. So when you're multiplying, there's another way of doing it, multiplying horizontally. This way you really have to keep track to make sure you're multiplying everything by everything else. everything in one polynomial by everything in the other polynomial is what I actually mean when I say that. So here, look at this. The 9x squared has to multiply by the 5x and the 2. That's what that first part is. Then this x has to multiply by the 5x and the 2 as well. Then over here we got the 6, that has to multiply by the 5x and the 2 as well. When you do that, you're going to end up with this here. And then when you simplify by combining like terms, you're going to end up with this. So I'm going to do this problem here as an example. So I'm going to take this x, multiply. It doesn't matter what order, how you multiply them together. I like to do it the smallest polynomial times the actual the biggest polynomial, just like I do it in regular multiplication. So here, this is x times 2x squared. This is going to be 2x cubed. X times x is going to be, and there's a subtraction problem with x squared. Then x times 6, 6x. Then we got that 7, so it's going to be plus 7 times 2x is going to be 14x squared. 7 times negative x is going to be negative 7x. And then 7 times 6 is 42. So when we combine the like terms, we see, well, we got 2x cubed. Then we got 1x squared right here, and then another x squared right here. So we can combine those. We end up with plus 13x squared. Then we're going to combine this term with this term, and it's going to be then 6 minus 7, so it's minus x, and then we're just left with plus 42. So the last method I want to teach is the FOIL method, and that's it's an organized way of multiplying things together. I'm going to do this problem here, but the way you do it, the example is here, is that what you actually do is you multiply the first set of numbers first. And in this case here, the first set of numbers are 5x and 3x. Then you multiply the then you multiply the outer numbers. So it's going to be 5x times 8. Then you multiply the inner numbers, the 9 and the 3x. Then you multiply the last numbers. And it's called the FOIL method because it's first, outer, inner, last. So let's look at this problem here. The first numbers are 8x and 9x. So when I multiply that, I'm going to end up with 72x squared. When I multiply now the outer numbers, it's going to be 8x. This is the first outer. This is the second outer. 8x times negative 7. So that's going to be subtracting 56x. Now I'm going to multiply the inner numbers, which are these. So it's going to be, again, subtracting because it's negative 7 times 9x, 63x. And then this last part, multiply the two last numbers here. And that's going to be negative times negative, so it's going to be plus 49. Combine like terms, you're going to end up with 72x squared minus 119x plus 49. And you're done.